Welcome everyone to the 6th week of the Snowflake Smitty Snowy Sunday Spectacular Show. This week we have Candy Cane Costa, went third overall last year, one of the OG veterans of the spectacular community, and somebody looking to make top 4, top 3 even this year. Candy Cane, welcome to the show.
Bro, thank you for having me. I've been a big fan so far. Every Sunday night, this is just like the thing now. S.S.S.S.S, like I was saying last week. So excited to be here and share my thoughts. Also, too, because definitely one of the more reserved members of this community. So I'm looking forward to kind of sharing my thoughts a little bit.
Absolutely. I mean, you are regarded among veterans as one of the veterans, but I feel like to a lot of people who are kind of newcomers in here, they don't really understand that you were a part of that original group in the beginning. You take a really like reserved take on Twitter. Everything's kind of like you don't really start arguments, which is a good thing. But I feel like because of it, a lot of people don't really grab the fact that you have been here just as long as all of us. Do you feel like you're kind of like disrespected in the veteran community, or not community from veterans, but just in general?
Right. Recently there have been some instances. I mean, you look at, and again, these are all accidental, but you look at the King, he does his leadoff video of the season, and he didn't list my name. He listed Nick Vizza. That was cool.
Yeah,
But
loco, huh?
no, he left me out. And then on the wheel on Success a couple of weeks ago, I was left off, So
Yeah, and I have to apologize for that, even though it wasn't directly my fault. It was, there's a huge bug in my basement, sadly. Yeah, so I mean, it wasn't directly my fault, but I do want to apologize for it. That is part of the reason why you're on the 7th week. Who knows who would have went actually the 7th week, but I guess you're going to decide who's going the 8th week right after this. No,
yeah, no grudges held. But at the same time, I'm a veteran. I've established myself in this community, so yeah, that's how I feel. No grudges held, but definitely a little bit of a chip on my shoulder, to be honest with you.
Yeah. And I mean, speaking of the chip on your shoulder, I feel like over the past few weeks, you've been taking a little shots. I mean, people have been putting you at weird spots in their power rankings. They're not really giving you the respect that you deserve as a veteran. How do you feel about that whole thing?
Right. So I think it's interesting. I feel like the last few weeks, we've really put this emphasis on a 3-year slate. I feel like every podcast I've been on, that's kind of the thing. Oh, it's your 3-year slate. But I think we talk about that only when it's convenient for us, right? Because like with all due respect to like a Yultai Yosef, he's being put ahead of me on some of the rankings, and the kid's never been drafted. So like, is the slate important or is it not? Like, so I just kind of confused in that sense.
I'm trying to figure out the same thing. I mean, we're trying to get Franklin on the show so that maybe he can elaborate and kind of dive deeper into this. But a lot of people are wondering the same thing, and the town hall really didn't clear that up for us.
Right. No. And I think the other one of the more fair criticisms I've gotten is kind of like, oh, Costa doesn't have like the haymakers. He doesn't have like the big moves. And I think that's fair. I think that's a good criticism. I like to hear that. The only thing I'll say though is like, I kind of think of it like NBA terms, right? You wouldn't go to Klay Thompson and be like, Klay, like you're great, but like you don't really dunk enough. Klay, like you don't really have enough like behind the back passes.
Yeah.
Like, no, you would sound like an idiot because Klay is like very good at what he does, right? So that's kind of how I feel I am. I call him like the Klay, like spectacular, whatever. You got Luka in there. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like this is kind of my game. So I can improve, no doubts about that. But that's kind of like what I was thinking about.
But really, is there even a need to improve? I feel like the spectacular Twitter itself, since the inception of spectacular Twitter last year, has been a very like argumentative, like let's go after somebody else and try to raise my own ranking. But it seems like you've stayed out of that for the most part. And honestly, good on you. I don't know if it's necessarily hurting your ranking in the eyes of the community, but I know it's not in the committee. Not that I've spoken to them, but I don't think that they see you any lower by actually keeping Christmas values. You're one of the only people who is actually doing it. I mean, you go on Twitter and you see a war between two people at almost any time.
Yeah, no, I mean, I kind of stay true to myself. I've kind of talked more about religion, about Jesus recently on the Twitter account. And yeah, just trying to be myself out there, I think. And if that's good for campaigning, that's great. If it doesn't earn me proverbial points, like, okay, yeah, I can live with that. So yeah, I think just staying true to myself there.
At the end of the day, it really does, I believe, at least, I haven't spoken to the committee, but what I believe is that 3-year slate and, like keeping Christmas values within your campaign while also showing that you do care about the spectacular is all that matters. And I mean, you're checking all three boxes. But at the end of the day, I feel like every time another power ranking is released, you're underrated. And I don't really understand where it's coming from. I mean, I can blame myself a lot of times in the beginning of this show, like weeks 1, 2, 3, I was rating you lower, but I feel like over time I kind of started to realize like this kid is a vet. He's the more I talk about the spectacular, the more memories of recent spectaculars come back. And I'm like, my God, this kid has been here basically as long as me, minus a year. And you put on a solid performance, high draft pick every year. Like what I don't understand what you're missing and why you're being rated as low as you are on some.
Right. Yeah, I don't fully get it. I also too I was looking at some of the stats the other day, and my seasonal performance grade last year was it was the same as yours actually. I think we tied. Was one of the highest in spectacular history.
Yeah.
So and you know we can have the stats. So we can have the conversation like, oh, this stat's good, this stat's bad. But okay, these are the stats we're going with right now. So like I'm just gonna go off what the committee's giving me, and that's showing now like I'm a top notch player. So yeah, I'm kind of keeping an objective view of it, I think.
Yeah. As much as I like to be Joe Rogan and like keep neutral ground, I have making like a big stance against stats, the way that we keep the stats for both attire, for plate rankings. I mean, last year I personally felt like my rating was kind of tanked a little bit just because I wasn't on the side of the table that counted plates in decimal format.
I remember you saying that, right? Yeah.
And I also feel like my performance grade was kind of tanked because, I mean, I don't remember exactly where you were, but I knew you were really close to me, and I tied for first place. Yet my performance rating is like 3 down, which I don't really understand. And then I got told, oh, you know, your attire kind of fits in with it, but the attire is a second grade. Like it's not the same grade. So I feel like there's just a lot of confusion going on, and I'm getting a lot of clapback from people who have had statistically high grades for forever. People like Zeke, people like, I mean, Leif, although he deserves it, but a lot of people are telling me like, oh, you got to go with what the committee gives you. But I feel like it's kind of bullshit. I feel like a lot of people are being wronged, myself included, and I feel like you're one of them just from looking at the stats recently. Your attire like last year, like that was ridiculous what you wore. Yeah, it froze a little bit. What I was trying to say is last year, like your attire.
Okay, now you're back.
Like you should have been way higher with attire last year.
Yeah, the attire range I was not really following. I even look at a guy like Lars, who I mean the custom sweater and everything else he had, and I don't think he cracked a 9.
That
so
was
I
spectacular costume in spectacular history, in my opinion.
right. I don't know if it's people intentionally just giving lower ratings to people around them, but yeah, I don't know. I think we have to remember this is kind of like sure, like there's a competitive element to it, right? But there's also like this is just a time to be together. This is like a celebration of life, right? So I don't know. I would hope that doesn't like skew attire ratings. Maybe that wasn't what it was.
That is what jumps you ahead on the committee's rankings because I've had 5 people on before you, and you're the first person to really like actually give the values of Christmas on here. Everybody's like, oh, you know, like screw that guy, like it was rigged, and myself included. And you come on here and you actually spread like moderate positivity. And like, I feel like that's got to go a long way. Again, I don't know what the committee's thinking, but judging by how they used to dictate things, that's got to stand you up.
No, Justin, it's like I said, we belong to each other, right? This is why we do this for the people. And sure, we can compete, and that's great. But I wouldn't want to see that get in the way, you know, of like, I don't know what the like traditional Speccy values and kind of why we started this in the first place. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking.
Just like a group of friends going to like a breakfast with Santa, wearing slightly like weird clothing, but having like a really good time at like a kid's event. And now it's turned into like, God, I don't even know what it's like the prime minister race in Israel at this point. It's absurd what we do to get these rankings. And like, even though like at the end of the day, the rankings are determined by the committee, and who knows what they're even thinking the whole time. You don't get any kind of like indication of where you're at. And I feel like a lot of people get lost in the campaign and attacking each other when people should have more of a view like you do right now.
Right. I think too, there's kind of like, so we're all working towards this one day, right? This single event. But I think there's also like something to be said about the campaign we're doing, like, and like a joy to that, like kind of enjoying this whole journey. So like, yeah, we all want to get drafted, and like we all want top grades and stuff. But I just wouldn't want that to get be like the first priority. I think the committee does need to take a look at like what they want this to become. Like it might be keep it exactly the same. I don't know. But I remember even on the what do you call it? The town hall we did. And the idea of like bringing the scale in
Yeah.
to weigh the plates, great idea. I don't know. It's just like I don't know. It might be a little much.
I
So
mean, it stemmed from me and a lot of other people saying that like the plates were a little bit weird this year. Because like if you look at people like Coach Christmas, and I'm not gonna deny that he probably did eat more than me. But the fact that he was given a 5.6 and I was given a flat 5, and everybody on my side of the table was given a flat number, and then you got people like 4.6, like I don't even know what that was, and that really did affect people's slates in a way. I believe plates is counted in your slate. I don't even know. I don't even know what the slate is at this point.
right, and maybe that's something Franklin talks about when he hops on this. Yeah, I think there does need to be a good look at the stats and kind of what we're going to use to determine someone's value in the Speccy. So like maybe some of it's intangible, maybe some of it we can measure with the stats we're using. So
Yeah,
definitely, I think there should be a conversation to be had there.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, even just like we talked about the scale, which undeniably would make a fairer environment, given that we're
Right.
eating food. But then it's like we're gonna call it salad. I was talking to my girlfriend, and she's like, "Oh, like then you can't eat salad because if you eat salad, it's light." Like and
No, yeah.
it's heavy, but it's light, so it's not gonna count on the scale. It's terrible that I bring these things up like to like friends and family, but you have to think like you have to get like a steak yet every single time. I mean, Leif would kill that category, but I mean,
All right.
imagine bringing in an official referee. I know the committee's talking about bringing a ref. I mean, it's getting almost out of hand at this point. So, like,
I no, I agree with you. I think at some point it's like it's an event with our friends and like it's a time to kind of just like enjoy a meal together, right? So that's how I look at it. Yeah.
and that's probably a better view. I do miss a lot like the first spectacular that me and you went to together, which I believe was 2018, 2019.
2018. Yeah.
That was all around just such an enjoyable experience. And not saying that the new ones aren't, but it was a different kind of vibe where everything was a lot more relaxed. Everybody was
Hmm.
more focused on having fun. Not that we had more fun that year than last year, but
Right.
it wasn't as stressful. This year felt a little bit stressful. And given the way that the statistics were taken and then ranked after, it almost made it more stressful heading into the next year, this year.
Yeah, I agree. There was a little bit of added tension. Don't be wrong, fantastic event. Absolutely loved it. But
Absolutely. God.
yeah, no, I agree. There was like a little more something in the air. And I think it's gonna be even more so this year, right? Because if like just like the idea of like, oh, we gotta take down Leif, like he's been the king, he was MVP. So now we gotta beat him. So yeah, I think that'll kind of be similar. I don't know. We'll have to see.
Yeah. I mean, we have no idea what the committee's looking at right now. We have like the committee, we see like the shredder. I mean, the shredder is probably, and not trying to accuse Leif of any kind of collusion, but Leif with the shredder, with all that statistical analysis and data math that he did, is probably the closest to being on point. I don't know exactly. I haven't watched it since the day it came out, but I don't know how you saw your grade or what you were even ranked. I know I got number 2, which is kind of hypocritical for me to say that that's the most accurate when I'm number 2. But given like the weight of everything, I feel like it was more or less accurate. Do you know where you were even placed on that?
I think I was 5, which it sounds pretty fair. And honestly, you had 2. That sounds about right. I'm just kind of curious. At the beginning of the video, Leif was like, I don't really know how to explain the science behind it, but I kind of just did it, and we're just kind of like live with that. So
Yeah.
like, I'm a little bit curious, like what actually went into that.
I
I
mean,
think it's probably legit too, but like
Leif is a tried and true data scientist, although he never like worked. Like he was a data scientist, but he never like actually did data science. He kind of ate salads.
no, he is at Chopped, right?
So I mean, he's got to be like within the ballpark. Like he kind of knows what data science is, but whether or not he knows how to like determine the algorithms is kind of up for grabs. And I mean, he's aware of that. He knows that. But yeah, I mean, what were we trying to get into here?
I think we're just talking kind of like the values of the Speccy and like what the day is kind of about. And just I think trying to keep a point on that.
Yeah,
Something I was kind of interested for you. I was thinking about this earlier. So I feel like you've changed roles a lot in the last few years. So like you started as like a Morpheus, then you went Snowflake Smitty, dash like Christmas Cock, and now you're kind of no, this isn't an official role, but like you're kind of Joe Rogan and the Speccy. So like I'm interested, like, do you value kind of being like a changing player, or is that just something that just kind of happened?
not necessarily. I mean, going into the spectacular, my first spectacular, I showed up wearing a Christmas sweater and jeans. So
Right, like, that's a classic first
yeah,
year. Yeah,
I feel like I never really gave myself a character, a role, a spot in the committee. And every single year I go, my attire is bad, my campaign is bad. And it's been consistent. My performance has always been good, minus the large,
okay,
but the attire and the campaign has always been bad statistically. So, like maybe like February of this year when I started really getting into the campaign spirit, into the spectacular spirit as one does. I was thinking, I'm like, I got to give myself a real good character and really run with it. And I feel like maybe I've morphed into it. I mean, I am the Joe Rogan, I am the Howard Stern, I am the David Pakman. You throw anything you want at me, I'm that.
right,
And I feel like because of it, I've really done well. But I have a lot of respect for the people who have been able to maintain the same character, same role for a while. And not that you're really playing a character, but you've been keeping consistent values, consistent name. Everything about your campaign has been consistent and on the up since the beginning. So I'm interested to see where somebody like me who's exploded onto the scene as a new character, as opposed to somebody who has consistent slate on the same character, how that rules out.
right. I think, yeah, to a sense, you've been like unpredictable. Like the committee doesn't might not know how to nail you down just because you keep on changing roles, as opposed to like I don't know, like a Big Daddy Christmas, or even like me, right? Because I've kind of stayed the same without a real character. So
Big
yeah,
Daddy
I'm curious.
have a
I'm curious how the committee looks at that. That's true.
I don't believe Big Daddy Christmas has a character. He kind of just shows up in a sweater and pajamas and gets like a 9 attire rating every year. I've never seen more rigging like that. That's if you want to hear. And I know that the fans hate when I say this word. They always comment on it in the live stream every time I say it, but it's collusion a little bit. You got to think. I mean, I know my costume that I wore to the spectacular wasn't too spectacular, but we had a whole argument on when should we rate the attire ranking because like the attire could come together during the spectacular.
That's true. That's
Like we
true.
didn't talk about that. I came in wearing the most normal basic clothes you could possibly wear. But by the end of the night, I was wearing a panda hat in a rooster suit with a bugle. I don't know how you top that. I really don't. And like I got like a 5.6 or something. Like I got tanked because I showed up in a Christmas sweater. And I mean the year before. I mean 2 years before when I showed up as Morpheus, yeah, I came in normal clothes, but I was wearing one of the first real spectacular costumes. My red leather jacket was grinding on the floor as I was throwing up in the bathroom. I mean, I feel like you have to show up in costume, and I feel like we had this conversation of whether or not we should grade in the beginning of the Speccy or after, and everybody's like, "Oh, let's grade after because we don't want anybody's feelings to be hurt in the beginning." But I feel like every year I show up and they're like, "What the hell are you wearing? Like you're not wearing spectacular stuff," and it comes together at the end, and I get hurt from the beginning. So I don't know how we should really do this.
Right. I mean, yeah. So you're saying yours kind of evolves throughout the day, or at least in some cases. So I wonder, right? Like, I wonder if it's like a midday thing, maybe after
I don't.
Majestic.
I think that should be another thing that's like votable. Because I feel like
Right.
at the end of the day, the people have a genuine idea. Like, who in their right mind is not going to put last year, for instance, you high? Who's not going to put Lars high? Who's not going to put Leif high? I mean, you guys probably had arguably the 3 best costumes last year. Hopefully, I'm not missing. Oh, Zeke. Zeke should definitely be up there too.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
like who in the right mind is not going to put those people high? I feel like we'd almost get a better, more accurate ranking if we ranked attire in a similar way to how we do performance grade or to MVP or to something like that, where we send out a text to an external third party member, they
Right.
create it, and then we go in and we don't even have to announce it at the spectacular. Let it be announced later on Twitter.
That's actually, that's a good idea. That's interesting. Like doing it afterwards. Yeah, I could get on board for that. That I think, yeah, I think the committee has a lot of things to go over. I'm curious the direction they go. Like Franklin's the new piece. I'm curious, like, do they stick with what's happened so far? Or like what's worked? I don't know. Yeah.
I'm ecstatic to get Franklin on this show because
Yeah.
it's not only going to boost success for, like selfish reasons, but the people need to hear from a mouthpiece. And he's the first one who's willing to do it. So thank God we're going to actually kind of know what direction we're looking for.
Right. No, that's bull. I appreciate him making the effort. He seems like he's been tweeting more.
Yeah,
So yeah, no, I'm excited for that episode. Kind of give a little more clarity to what we're talking about.
absolutely. So yeah, normally like around this time we get into like power rankings. Do you feel comfortable doing that? Would you want to do something like that, or do you want to kind of change the game up a little bit?
What if we did people that might never make the Speccy, but like we wish they were, like our dream team of like
non-spectacular community.
Yeah, let's do that.
Ooh, okay.
I have a couple. I can give you a couple ideas. Well, at first, this one we mentioned before. I think Mr. Vario at some point. I mean, I actually I say that. Has he been there before? That might be a complete.
Yeah,
okay.
He was there the year that me and you were in Majestic Gardens. He was there every year except for last year and the year 1 year grandma was sick and he stayed home with her.
Right. Okay. Disregard that then. Okay.
He's never been like an official like committee member, like a community member. He's never been drafted, and I feel like he should.
Right. So, do you think Jared ever comes?
That's a hot take. I feel like if we go in there and we pitch it to him,
right,
we'd do it.
I think so. I think he loves it.
We drive up that man's sales. We really do. We give that man more business than anybody.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, something to keep in mind. I don't know.
For those who don't know, Jared is the worker at the Miller Place 7-Eleven.
Right.
And he's great. He's fantastic. We could get him there. That would be big. I'm thinking another hot take. Well, not even that hot. It's pretty cold, to be honest. Rob's dad.
Yeah.
T2 would be phenomenal. And I doubt anybody in this game right now could put on a better campaign than that man.
No, absolutely not.
Everything he says is outrageous.
I think another name. Do you think Ryan Hollins ever shows up?
I feel like, on the trajectory that we're on after Lars's, fantastic video this week, whenever that was posted. God, we're getting closer and closer to getting an actual celebrity in the spectacular. And when that happens, this thing's going to go viral. We're going to be competing for 5 spots out of 17,000 in a couple of years. He
seems so into it too. So I think, I don't know.
Yeah. Ryan Hollins, definitely a good pick. Trying to think of some more names here. It's weird because like the Vario family is always there, but they don't count as like, people who can be drafted because they're the Vario family. I wonder if one day Dan ever actually steps into the draft himself. That would be really interesting.
Oh, I feel like he'd have to go number 1, right? Or maybe there is a competition. I
think he'd have to go number 1 because he is the one who, like, I know he's the only one with connection to the committee. So you'd think they want him to go 1. But at the end of the day, like, what if they throw in a hot take and put him like 3 or 4? It's definitely with the campaign that some people are running lately. We've never really seen a campaign out of the king. It would be interesting to see.
I was thinking that the earlier, just how he kind of just sits back and watches everything. But what if he actually ran one? That's interesting.
Yeah.
I was randomly thinking of a dynasty Speccy team, and like at what point does like Leif Jr. get drafted?
I was just talking about this, where like I can't imagine this stopping in like the next 30, 40 years.
No.
And like Leif Jr., we're still waiting on Logan Almberg.
That's true. That's true. He has not come through.
Logan could come in and rain hell. Imagine the 3 Almbergs and plus like Leif having a son, unfortunately. God bless that kid. But hey, that kid might go like 2 or 3. Who knows?
No, but that's what I think the hype on him would be unbelievable.
Oh my God.
Like I
newborn, he'd be going 2.
No, right. I think he's like 5 years old and Leif's taking him to like Texas Roadhouse and just like shoving plates down his throat.
Like training him.
No, right. Yeah, I think it starts early. So, the stock would be crazy on him.
I would love to see Leif Jr. get in there. That is a thought like I've thought about like how it's gonna be when our kids go because I had a conversation with King Kirsch over how committee members become committee members. Because as
Okay.
like I'm sure you know, Franklin worked 29 years at Jiffy Lube. Next thing you know, he's the mouthpiece for the spectacular.
Right.
What I've heard is that the committee will hire mouthpieces, but they can also take mouthpieces from the community, like the draftees, you know, the whole
Oh, okay.
community. And once you're a mouthpiece for a year, you get promoted into the committee where you're like one of the people making the decisions. So what
Okay.
I'm thinking is maybe there's one year where like a spectacular community member, such as like I don't know, like Lars or Zeke, 30 years from now, they're like, hey, listen, I can't, I don't have the firepower for this anymore. Not saying that they wouldn't be
Right.
strong competitors, but they could be like a pointed mouthpiece for a year, and then after that, they're one of the people making the decisions of who goes in the draft. I mean, do you ever really get out of this? This is almost like a disease that we've been bestowed on.
No, yeah, I think we're into the long haul now. I could picture you in that role actually.
I
Going
would love
being kind of the mouthpiece, honestly.
I would love to be, but at the end of the day, like, what have we done to ourselves? Like, this might go on forever. Given that,
No, I was honestly lying in bed the other night, and I really like. You ever like think about something and then like it over and over, but then like it really hits you?
yeah,
Like that was what happened. I was
I'm
just
getting
like,
a little bit of
wow.
that right now too. I'm sure everybody back home watching is too.
Yeah,
Unfortunately,
shout out to everyone watching. Yeah, no, I was just like, oh my god, like this is a thing. Like this is like this thing of my life is like into right now. So
you know, for the
yeah,
first 3 4 years, I couldn't even talk about this with anybody who I knew and loved because I just thought like maybe I could
I was,
home.
I
But
was
I'm
at
sitting here, my girlfriend's actually sitting on the other side of the couch. I'm like, I tell her about it, and she's like, she can't believe, she doesn't even understand.
no, I was at my internship the other day, and I had Merry Mondays playing, and when my intern, she was like what you listening to? I was just kind of stuck there for a second because I just didn't know where to go with that.
Bro,
So
it's so hard to answer the Merry Monday thing because Matt, if you're listening, bro, that show is killer, bro.
it's
It's not
fantastic.
supposed to be funny, but I laugh so hard. Bro, you go from Bible quote to pulling something out of the oven to talking about somebody's campaign to like loving your neighbor, and then it just ends and it's live, and you got people. It's an incredible combination of all things Christmas and spectacular. I mean, that kid is running a podcast. That is
No, like I'm pretty sure he was talking about Jesus's ball sack the other episode, and I mean from this type of like fire from a rookie. I mean we've talked about him a lot, but like I think he's the real deal.
well, going in, a lot of people were like, Joe is that rookie, especially considering
Hmm.
the campaign he put on last year. There's a lot of hype around Joe. That kid, you know, he's busy. He's got a life, unfortunately, but you know, he's not showing the firepower that a lot of people expected. And on the opposite side, Matt is coming in like I've never seen before. This might be the most effort I've ever seen out of a rookie in the history of the spectacular, by far.
Yeah.
I mean, he is consistent. He's sending out. He's so active in the community.
Hmm.
Like I said last week, like Matt's somebody who I cannot see not going top five. I really and I genuinely believe that. I don't know who he's kicking out, but that kid has fire.
No, I completely agree. I wasn't totally expecting. I also didn't know him very well either before this,
Yeah,
so I wasn't totally sure what to expect. But no, he's bringing it, and just has like an overall like you can tell he loves it. You know, so
God, the kid loves it. And he's talked about it in the past about joining, but we were always like, it was kind of like a Nick Vizza thing. We're like,
right,
we'd be like, oh, Matt Savala's going to join. And we're like, yeah, that would be great. Like, we'd love to see him there, but like, I don't know. And
yeah,
this year, this kid just ran out the gate. He's gone. He's going for it. And he's not somebody who's like, oh, you know, like I'm trying to get like fifth, fourth. Like his campaign is strong. It's consistent. I mean, I don't want to keep hyping up Matt too much, but Jesus Christ, that kid with this campaign.
no, yeah, and also that you were talking about guys that like you're never sure where they're gonna make it or not. Um, I was rewatching the end of the town hall the other day when Sean Meyer came on, and like talk about like a I don't know, just like a prospect that just hasn't made it yet, but
No,
he
yeah, but
seems like a fantastic guy.
he was here before there was even a draft. He was here before me. Sean Meyer's been here. I think he was here like 2016, 2017, if I'm not mistaken. I think I
Okay,
went to a spectacular with him. I'm not entirely sure, but I know he's a veteran.
right.
Sean Meyer, like, he announces a campaign. He's already a veteran, doesn't necessarily have a 3 year slate, but he has history. And the kid knows how to run a campaign. I can just feel it by looking at him. And I don't know. He knows what he's talking about. He's a sleeper too. God forbid he starts his campaign. This whole thing's gonna be even more confusing than it is.
No, I know. Like just like the level of competition is just absurd.
Do you think
So
it's too much?
no. You mean no? I'd say I like the more guys the better.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I just feel like the stakes have risen and like you really gotta bring it. So
Yeah.
yeah, I guess competitiveness of the event is one thing, but then like the feel is different. So
Yeah.
yeah, no, field's fantastic.
Like, I mean, for like 3 months, we are at each other's throats. Like, I mean, I guess not you, thank God, but we're coming after each other. We're fighting for these spots. You know, I got picked fourth last year, for instance, and everybody was like, oh, why is he going fourth? Like, that should have been Zeke's spot, and Joe should have been in Zeke's spot, and Justin should have got sixth, and, you know, that whole thing. And then we all show up on the spectacular day. We're like, oh, hey, buddy, you know, and it's all like a community loving, like, and I guess that's what the spectacular is all about. But I don't know if the campaign has strayed so far away from the actual event itself that it almost feels like two different entities. To me, it kind of does.
I think it can be at some point. Yeah. So it just I think it was kind of what we were saying earlier, just keeping an eye on like what how this started and what we kind of like believe. So
Yeah. Damn. All right. So I mean, we don't necessarily have to touch on rankings, but I want to know, do you have any like sleepers, any people you feel like are a little bit overrated? Any thoughts on any other campaigns going on right now, or about yourself, where you think you can go?
so I think I don't think there's a debate that leads to number one overall pick, but I think there's a pathway for Lars. Like I don't think it's a done deal. I think from like solely like based on like content, like good quality over quantity, I guess is what I'm trying to say. The kid produces. I think I don't know if something else comes this season. I think he has a shot. I wouldn't rule it out. It's late for right now. I don't know how you feel.
I can agree with you. I feel like, and God, like, I don't want to like be the kind of person who everybody's like, oh, he's just throwing out hot takes, but I feel like, I mean, my cap, I got two first overalls in a row. Leaf is now at two first overalls in a row. So if you think
Yeah,
about it, Leif is at a point right now where if he gets drafted first again, he is undoubtedly the greatest spectacular member of all time if he wasn't already. You know,
yeah,
he's like LeBron before he won the ring in Cleveland.
yeah.
He's right there. And I don't know if I feel like I can see something crazy out of the committee. I don't know what it is, but I feel like whatever we're expecting right now is not going to be how it's going to go. I don't know. Does the committee put Leif first because he, you know, he kind of deserves it? Or do they go
Yeah.
for like a change up and maybe slide like somebody like Lars up there? I could see like, could you imagine a Speccy where like Lars goes first and then like Zeke goes second and Leif goes three?
That's bold.
I mean,
I mean,
if you really think about it, like Leif is a consistent member,
oh
solid
yeah.
year slate, solid performance every single year.
Mm-hmm.
But at what point does somebody start catching up to him? I mean, he has a significant lead, but with the campaigns that we're seeing out of people like Zeke, like how long can he hold that? You don't even know. Who knows where we're going to be in 2 months?
Right. I think the thing with Lars too, this is like a 2-year thing now with campaigns where he's, I would say, last year and this year combined, best campaign like total. So I think that says something. Again, we're saying like it's a 3-year slate. Like we're keeping all this in mind, but I don't know. I think there's a pathway there.
You know, the thing is like Lars, when Leif, I don't know if you got one of those texts from Leif trying to rank the campaigns of everybody.
Yes. Yeah. I got one.
When Leif sent that out, I gave Lars a high grade for his campaign. But again, this was only when my Speccy was out. And I was like, you know what?
Oh, right.
He's running a good campaign. But as I said in 6S, I was like, I want to see more of the kid's face. I want to hear more of his voice. Like, I love what he's doing, but I feel like what would put him over the edge is his voice. And, you know, 2 days after that poll goes out, he drops that, or 2 or 3 days after that poll goes out, he drops that video. And I'm sitting there watching the shredder, and I'm like, God, I wonder how much my vote of putting that kid higher would have accounted for, because that kid deserved to be higher, like campaign wise.
No, I agree. And I'm curious, like, Chris's community actually uses the shredder, you know, maybe like, so, and also it changes. Is there an episode dropping this week? Is the shredder like a weekly thing, right?
I'm trying to convince him to do it. I don't know. I feel like he should. I feel like honestly, not to like take away from Success, I don't know if people would want to sit through all of this, but if Shredder dropped right before Success, like if he texted me like what time Shredder would end and I just debuted Success right after it,
Yeah.
that'd be like a ton of content. Otherwise, maybe he goes for like a Thursday, but at what point do you like have a life? You know, like if every single night you got to sit in and watch a podcast.
No, that's true.
And
It's
Spectacular is not about having a life or a career. If I know one thing about the Spectacular, you give it all.
no, no, I wouldn't say so. But yeah, I'm trying to think of who else kind of stands out to me. Um, Zeke is a lock for the top 5, right? That's what we said? Okay.
So I feel like even if he didn't have it, he should go.
Right. And the just like, yeah, we touched on these points before, but are the vets gonna make a comeback, Cal and Rob? Or I'm sorry, Mary Mobster.
I don't know. I mean, Rob had a great performance on my show.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's put out a lot of tweets, but the problem is, will he build on his videos?
Right.
I think everybody's a little bit pissed off about part 2. Not, I feel like I bring that up so much. Everybody brings it up so much. It's so dead now. But I feel like the landscape is that we want to see Rob videos,
Yeah.
and we don't see Rob videos.
No, not particularly. Also, I don't want us to forget. Leif also promised a mixtape last year and just very much did not drop it. So,
And it gets covered up real quick when it's not Rob. You have to think about it. I mean, and honest to God, while we're all going after this, I promised a video last year too. It never came out. And
fair.
I mean, I mean, there's a lot of promises going on. We got to start keeping to these. But what I'm waiting for, and I've said this probably 6 weeks in a row, is I'm waiting for that one night or one afternoon when we get a notification saying that Joe posted something, because Joe's video last year, it may not have been the best by everyone's standards, but
Yeah.
that was the Bohemian Rhapsody of the Spectacular last year. That was a masterpiece. Everything, the production, the content, the everything. I mean, that kid knows he can do it. And I'm wondering, when does he turn it on? I'm hoping that when I get him on 6S, I can kind of convince him. But I really just want to see that kid go for it.
Right. No, he's been waiting a little bit. But also had a good what's the name of the show? Bomb Rookies. I thought he had a really good appearance on Bomb Rookies the other night. So,
but we're talking like the Bomb Rookies is gonna help him. Obviously, he was great on that show. But I'm looking for like a Joe video, like what we know from Joe video. Maybe 2.
No, he's a creative kid. I think hopefully something's coming.
Kid's a genius. I mean, like he 3D printed a rocket last year for this show, and like, what could he do this year? What can he, given the slate, given the campaign this year, and how everybody's matching up, and where we're all sitting, and how much effort you have to even get in to be in the top 5?
Yeah.
What does he drop, and does he drop it?
I wouldn't rule anything out, honestly. After everything after Ryan Hollins now, like nothing would surprise me at this point.
I know, and that's how it was last year too. And like, how do you top Lars's campaign? I don't know, because I'm out here recording every week, and I'll be the first to admit that 1 2-minute video was probably better than my entire campaign so far. So how?
I mean, we could say the same thing for all of us. Yeah.
How do you Lars?
No, I mean, you got LeBron, you got Michael,
you got Lars.
Yeah. Right.
Incredible.
No, I mean, another thing I was thinking the other day too, I want to give more thought to like food strategy. So like, I'm curious, like, do you have like a game plan when you go out there? I mean, I guess that's a dumb, maybe I'm one of the few that doesn't, but honestly, my last 2, I've kind of, I want to say like, oh, I've broken this down to a science, I'm looking at, carbohydrates and how they metabolize in my system. No, I actually don't. So I'm curious, like, do you have like thoughts on this?
Have you seen my performance with my plates the past couple of years? What I do is I eat, and then I'm the first to say I'm not the biggest in stature. I mean, last year I trained. I literally ate like 3 or 4 McChickens a night, put on 15 pounds, and I still threw up. I don't think I've ever not thrown up at the Speccy in the bathroom. I've done it almost every year, and I have no sort of like disease or anything wrong with me. So, I mean, I'm the last person to ask. I know that certain people have certain strategies. Like I know Leif has one, and it shows. It really does. So maybe
right. I do say I don't want to gas up Leif any more than he does himself, but I do like steak first. I think that just kind of sends a message That's
It's
like a no carnival, no games. Like I didn't come here to
putting your
play.
ball on the table. It really is right from the beginning. And
Yeah.
I don't know.
But I think I'm gonna put a little more thought in this year. And everyone watching this might be like, oh, it's because it's scrub for that. I don't know. I just haven't. So
I
we'll
think so.
see.
I think a lot of people are going to respect that because, like plates are important. So it's one of the biggest moments of the actual event when you're at the spectacular. I mean, the food is what we go for. I mean, not exactly, but one of the major points. And plates get weighed in heavily. I feel like given a good strategy, and mind you, this might be the year that we see Rob eat meat. He alluded to it on my show. I
That's
kept asking,
big.
do you eat meat this year? Do you eat meat this year? Do you eat meat this year? And he,
Yeah.
oh, I don't know. I don't know. But what if that kid slips in a piece of meat? It's pretty much over. Like whatever you eat, it doesn't even matter. You could eat the whole
That's
like, Gillette Stadium, and you're still gonna lose, sadly.
no, right. Do you think the record goes down this year again?
For plates.
Yeah.
Well, it matters on what side of the table King Kirsch is sitting on, so he can completely rig it.
No. No comment on that.
It almost doesn't matter. I mean, like I've seen people eat like 3 plates and then say they ate 7, not 7, but it's kind of rigged. How do you really get that down to a science? If there's that many kids sitting at a table, how do you get 5.6? What do you measure the surface area and the density of what's left on the plate? I mean, it's kind of doesn't make sense.
I couldn't tell you. No, we also want like 3 grapes on the plate too. So it depends.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking about grapes because we talked about this before the show. It was yams is the actual official quote.
Oh,
From Lars about Zeke, and I feel like that's gonna keep going. I feel like people are gonna be talking about the yams for months to come. Simply, I've never seen a yam. Sadly, I'd love to see a yam, and I probably am gonna be the first person to finish all 3. But
no, right. Yeah. Not something I've experienced too either.
do you have like a general feeling for top 5?
Like right now? Like
You
power
don't
rankings?
you don't even have to rank them. Even if you can just say 5 people who you think are at the top of the game right now.
I'll rank them. Leif 1. I'm going. That's not the usual order we go. Leif, Lars. I'm sorry. I'll do the Christmas names. Hold on.
Right, let's hear him.
All right. So first we're going Coach Christmas. Second, Polar Bear Larsy.
I like that.
I think you're third. I think you're a solid third.
Thank you.
Jingle Bomb's fourth, and I think I have that 5 spot. I do.
Yeah.
And that's the people behind me are fantastic, but
I believe you might have just given the most unbiased, even though you put yourself in, one of the most unbiased and agreeable top 5 that I've heard so far on the show. I mean, people use my show's power rankings as like, come on and say the most egregious shit you can say to get screen time.
I've heard.
But I mean, you've seen the Zeke video, right? Like,
I forget what he even said at this point, but I believe it.
He put Lars at 6.
Gotcha.
Lars is the most overrated player not to start rehash a war, but he said he's the most, again, before the second Ryan Hollins video. But
okay. It's
we had a whole conversation about how Lars hasn't really done any like screen time about himself and has kind of been behind the scenes with my Speccy, and how I'm hoping to see him on screen. And
right.
No, he's probably the most overrated person in the Speccy.
So that brings up the screen time conversation again, right? I think that kind of applies to me too. So it seems like this is kind of a value we want. Like if you want to go big, if you want to be looked at as a big candidate, you have to be on screen. So that I guess that kind of that's what it sounds like to me.
I mean, my campaign this year has been me on a screen. I haven't really done much else. But I know I look like back at years past and I see like Leif. Leif is somebody who's always on screen and he's always consistently number 1. And
yeah.
So you literally cannot escape the kid. He's everywhere. If you just watch the spectacular video from last year that just dropped, I mean, he's talking during the whole thing and filming himself. I mean, nobody loves themselves more than the coach. Nobody.
It's fair.
And he's on everything. You can't go anywhere. He was on the first 3 weeks of 6S straight. First 4 weeks of 6S.
Yeah. No, he was loving it.
So, I mean, I feel like the more you get yourself out there, and I feel like, think about other people who show their face consistently. Matt and Zeke. Matt and Zeke's campaigns have skyrocketed this year.
That's true. Yeah.
Maybe it is that. And I mean, maybe podcast format isn't the way to do it anymore. I feel like we've kind of oversaturated the market to a certain point. Not that that's anybody's fault specifically. I'm sure I wasn't the first one to think of this, but we might have oversaturated that market. So I'm kind of kind of looking to see like where do we go to get our face out there on Twitter to put content out. Like what?
No, it's a good question. I mean, yeah, we gotta keep innovating, and that goes for me too. Like my campaign can grow as well. I'm not saying it's
I
done.
mean,
So.
I love to joke around and say that it's almost over, but like we're in the first month out of 3. Like I doubt that the draft picks are going to be set until like maybe it's first week of December.
No, I think that's when is the first pick usually? I'm forgetting the.
I'm thinking it's like 2 weeks before the spectacular ish, or
Okay.
2 to 3 weeks. Like usually like the first pick is known, and then like
Right.
you just slowly start drizzling in.
You
But
know, I meant to ask you too. Do you have a top 5? I get mine.
my top 5 changes every week, as I feel like everybody should. I feel like it's only fair to really give that. My top 5 is literally the exact same as yours, although I think Matt is really pushing for it. I don't know who he kicks out, and I don't think it's necessarily you, only because you put yourself at 5. But I feel like Matt is somebody who's like he's like a steady riser. He came out
Yeah.
strong, started out a lot higher than a lot of people did, and he's not like jumped crazily, but he's like somebody who's like, you know, another show, another show, another show, another show, and then his
Yeah.
he's somebody who's somebody you got to really watch out for if you're not a lock pick, which is only Zeke at this point.
Yeah. No, I'm high in the stock too.
Yeah, I mean,
I
Matt's
I had a question. This is unrelated, by the way. You had mentioned I don't even know. See, I don't even know what show it was anymore. But one of the specs a few years ago where it was only everyone missed it except for you.
yes.
So I was curious how that happened because I was not aware of that.
So
Just out of curiosity.
the 2017-2018 Breakfast with Santa Christmas Spectacular, I had not gone away to school that year, but I was planning on going the next year for 20.
Okay.
But at the same time, everybody else who would have went, like including like people such as yourself, you guys were already gone. So it kind of came down to me and Rob were the only 2 people left, and Leif was in San Francisco. So
Okay.
it was me and Rob that were invited, and Rob couldn't go for some reason. So it was literally just me and King. And I believe that was either my second or first spectacular. It was dubbed the year that I saved the spectacular, and it's what gave me those 2 first round picks after. Because even back
I see. Okay.
late, it was still a slate. Like that kind of what made me get those 2 first round picks.
Okay.
But I don't know.
That's so odd to picture though. I don't know. I just like the idea of just you and Dan there.
It was very weird. It was at Majestic. And even Mr. Vario wasn't there because grandma was actually unfortunately sick and she was in bed and somebody
okay.
with her. So it was grandma and Mr. Vario both weren't there. It was me, Mrs. Vario, Dan, Jill, and I think Jill's friend.
Got it. Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, it was a weird environment, but it's kind of like my first ushering into the spectacular, and I'm glad that I had that experience because now I really know like what it's all about. I feel like that's what really, Dan had a nosebleed the whole time. We thought he had some sort of disease. We actually took him to City MD the same. I think it was the next morning because of like how sick he was after it.
Wow.
I mean, he's been consistently sick every year on this Becky, so I'm interested.
That's true. I do recall that. That's true.
That we get some sort of other disease. Where does he go this year?
And yet he'll still be carrying the tree though. Like, I don't anticipate anyone else doing that.
Yeah, no, I agree. So yeah, I don't know how long this show has been going on, but I feel like we're one of the longest shows right now. I feel like
I don't remember when we started.
Let me see. When did I text you? Again, 6S, not scripted, everyone. So I'll
no, yeah. It's also I can see it's almost midnight at your time. So, no pressure to stay on whenever you're feeling.
You know what? I feel like it's been a little bit less than we think. Maybe we could push out like another 5-10 minutes out of here.
It's fine by me. Yeah.
The draft, like our power rankings take up like the most amount of time. But is there anything like more specific that you want to talk about? Anything regarding the whole campaigning process, the spectacular itself? Is there anything you're interested in hearing from other people?
It's a great question. Huh. I don't know. I think I think, I don't know. I guess I've been thinking about my campaign a little more too. It's just kind of the idea. Like, I think last year I was kind of focused on, I was so focused on like campaigning and like really trying to grab a spot.
Yeah.
And like, so this year is kind of been more just like, I don't know, like less worries, just kind of putting out whatever's myself and kind of like living with that. So that's, I guess, as far as campaigning goes, that's what I've thought of. But yeah, no, just been some really creative stuff. It's like I said, I love like the journey we're on. I think there's really something to be said about that.
Yeah. I mean, a lot like I feel like your way of taking it, as I said before, like a couple minutes ago, it's probably arguably the best way to take it because a lot of people I know in this community respect you for not coming at somebody's throat and kind of keeping that neutral ground. And because of it, a lot of people were calling you the golden boy of the spectacular. And I know that somebody made a comment on it about how you're not the golden boy of the spectacular anymore.
I
And
actually said that. That was me.
it's you. And he who shall not be named is. Do you feel like you're kind of like drifting away from that like poster child? Because you were the
Mm,
poster child of the spectacular.
I
What-
think
no matter what you were picked.
right. I think some of the ways I haven't liked it. I heard one time the idea that I was almost like a kiss up to the committee. Like I was kind of the committee's golden boy. So
I'd love to
right, like
make that
I don't
argument.
know. I never really bought that. That it's okay. Doesn't hurt my feelings, but I never really bought that. But I think if that was the case, it's probably not anymore. I don't know. I kind of
Well, you know,
shut the
a lot
phone
of talk about people kissing up to the committee lately. I mean, and I know
There
the
has
committee's
been.
trying to stay very neutral. I know that they were getting a lot of flack for talking to the coach early on and agreeing with him.
Yeah.
And I saw today, I don't know if it was either today or yesterday, but I saw it today that the committee tweeted something out at Zeke, like congratulating him on, I think it was Bomb Rookies. I don't know if it
Okay.
was Twitter or if it was something he said on Bomb Rookies, but didn't really get to watch it. I was at work. I'm trying to look at that. But yeah, I mean, and then, the committee's trying to send Franklin onto my show. So I feel like they're trying to be pretty neutral for the most part.
That's fair. Okay. So then I guess some of the worries we've had maybe aren't quite what they seem to be.
I mean, like I'm trying to stay like pretty level headed here and give everybody a fair chance. And I feel like that is one thing you can't really go at Leif for is I don't think that the committee's really up his ass as much as people think they are. I think people just think that because he's so consistent. And again, that's not
fair. Yeah.
hires, but like he's been doing what he's been doing. But I guess only time will tell. It's still early on. Can you see Leif carrying this kind of drive into December? Probably. I mean, he'd probably go year round if it was allowed.
I wouldn't doubt it. No.
You see everybody else stacking up. Who knows? Lars could drop a video of like LeBron James saying his name soon at this rate.
Wouldn't surprise me. No.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, do you have a favorite like Speccy tradition? Anything that stands out to you?
Ooh. I was gonna ask you something along the same lines. Speccy tradition. Honest to God, my favorite moment of the Speccy has always been the arrival. And I know how stupid that sounds.
No, I understand that.
When we're either, sitting in one year we started in Leif's basement. That was the year that we had Mike. And like there was the year last year even when we were like all in the road and like people showing up one by one. And like if you just watch the video, like Zeke jumped out of the car with the bomb on him, people were showing up playing the same Christmas music. It was outrageous. People would look.
No, it is ridiculous.
Like, what the hell's going on here? People honk their horns at us. Like it's kind of like the celebration and like the official commencement. And I love the amount of excitement that we have at that exact moment. I feel like it's almost impossible to touch at any other time of the year.
I completely second that. For me, it's hard. I was thinking Mannheim. Mannheim is just
I love that.
There's just something about the energy that's different.
And
I was thinking Mannheim.
everybody loved your Mannheim the year that and a lot of people are like, oh, you don't show up, it's gonna hurt your slate, whatever. You legitimately couldn't come that year and you still answered the call. God knows what time in the morning it was for you.
It was pretty early, but
and you still gave us are you ready? I mean, that was incredible. So I can't see why Mannheim wouldn't be your favorite. That's been arguably one of the best moments of that year.
No, Mannheim I love. And obviously Coach and Dan getting married too.
Yeah, and I'm really hoping we see more of that this year.
My question is like, how did that had to have started somewhere? Like, was Leif just like looking out the window one day, like, or sorry, one of the Speckies, and was like you want to go up there and kiss? Like you
Well,
want to just go up there and get married?
the fountain and roaming around outside has been tradition for as long as I've been here. God knows
Okay.
how long it's been going on. I know it's not allowed. I know you're not supposed to go outside, and they kind of frown upon it because you actually have to walk past the food people. For those who haven't been to Majestic Gardens, there's
Right.
not necessarily a greenhouse, but like a room made of completely like glass and glass doors. And there's people who set up the food right there, similar to how it was in the place that we went to last year, which I'm slipping on, Eastwind.
Eastwind.
But you have to like literally maneuver past those people, walk out the glass doors, and be out in a courtyard on top of a waterfall where basically everybody can see you and see what you're doing. So it's kind of like one of those like egregious moments. But I remember one year we were walking out there. I don't remember exactly how the kiss happened, but I think Jill Vario was trying to take a picture of us all up there, and that was just one of the poses that they came up with.
Got it. Okay. Okay.
It has like a lot of homosexual tendencies a lot of the time, so he kind of like goes for that kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah, but I'm interested to see where it goes. Like, is there going to be a year where the sacks come out? You never even know. Given like how Martin's been going the past couple of years. I mean,
I think that's the trajectory they're going on. Right.
Yeah. But excited to see where that goes from there. Yeah. God, I there's so much that I wanted to talk about, and some of it's slipping me right now.
I think
Your campaign specifically. Where do you feel like you're doing the best, and where do you feel like you need to improve on the most?
Towards the best. I don't know. I guess I've kind of enjoyed sharing about my faith. Like that's I don't know why I didn't start that earlier, to be honest. Like I remember watching Matt do that, and I was almost like pissed at myself. I was like, this is kind of an important part of my life. Why have I not talked about it earlier? So I've enjoyed that. And I think just I mean that is it's literally what Christmas is. So
That's what's fun a lot of the time. And I feel like that's been one of the best additions this year to people's campaigns is the explosion of like between you and Matt with the faith going on and we're
right.
like Bible readings going on. I mean, it is not that it's a seasonal thing, but like it's October and we're reading quotes from the Bible about Christmas or about,
no, right. And I'll say too, Matt is the Keep Christ and Christmas guy. He started that. I'm not taking any credit for that. That was him.
I love it being carried around though. It's honestly what this should be about, and kind of sad.
No, right. The literal point of Christianity is to spread it and have everyone talk about it. So but as far as as far as improvement, I think Kyle, I think there could be some big moves coming. I think that could be something added to the arsenal. I just don't think I don't want to be looked at so much for what I'm not as opposed to what I am. Yeah. So I think that's something that's been on my mind a lot. But I think, there could be a little more flash. You might see something come.
I like that. So we're all excited to see where that goes. I think I'm going to wrap it up here, but you're actually going to be the person to spin the wheel for next week because we haven't spun the wheel in a while, actually, because, there's been screw ups all over the place. But I think we have 4, maybe 5 contestants left. I don't know until we actually map it out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to end the recording right now.
Okay.
Hop in. I'm going to help you set it up, and you are going to spin it on your end just so I don't get accused of anything anymore because I'm tired of it. So
sounds good. Sounds good to me.
Extremely excited about your campaign. Love what you've been doing so far, and can't wait to see where this goes. And can't wait to see you at the Speccy.
Bro, thank you for having me. To everyone listening, love you all.
Hopefully, we get you on round 2 when I go back around and hit everybody again because this is never going to end. This.
I'll be ready. Estoy listo.
All right, let's do it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are here to spin the wheel for S.S.S.S.S. Week 7. Justin is not here. He had some technical difficulties, so it's just me. But we will be spinning. Let me share my screen. We have Big Daddy Christmas, Yuletide Yosef, Mistletoe Matt, Merry Magic Mike, and Franklin. All we picked. Let's see what happens. And there you have it. Rookie Mistletoe Matt. You wanted him, folks. You got him. He will be on week 7 of S.S.S.S.S.